24% of our families are drinking their water off of well water, and yet what we're watching deteriorate right here ends up in our aquifers, which ends up in people's homes. And yet people are sometimes surprised at the rising rate of cancer. These are carcinogens. These are hazardous materials that are left to deteriorate in our waters, and we're not going to have it in South Carolina. These vessels often contain fuel, oil, batteries, and other hazardous materials. As they decay, those pollutants can leak into the surrounding waters and sediments, and do, damaging fragile marsh ecosystems and degrading water quality. Fiberglass hulls slowly break apart, releasing microscopic fragments that persist in the environment. Recent scientific research has shown that these fiberglass particles can be ingested by shellfish, such as oysters and mussels. These organisms filter large volumes of water. One oyster filters 50 gallons of water a day. These organisms, these neglected vessels raise real epidemiological concerns. This is where ecology and epidemiology meet, right here at what we're fixing. Because pollutants that enter marine organisms can ultimately move through the food chain and potentially affect both wildlife and human health. So when we remove abandoned vessels, we are not simply hauling away debris. We are preventing long-term pollution from entering our ecosystems and our fisheries. There's also a vital maritime and navigational dimension to this work. Derelict vessels create dangerous obstructions for boaters and fishermen. In low visibility or shifting tides, partially submerged hulls can damage vessels, threaten lives, and disrupt the safe use of our waterways. This is why the leadership of lawmakers, and particularly Senator Stephen Goldfinch, who's one of the great conservation leaders of our generation, Senator Chip Campson and others, have championed legislation addressing abandoned vessels, have been so important. Their efforts ensure that South Carolina has the authority and resources necessary to address this growing problem. The laws alone do not remove boats from the water. That work requires dedicated people willing to step forward and take action. Collaboration is essential. Government cannot pay for all this. If you look at what's happened today, just on the elbow grease given, over $100,000 has been given from our divers and from our nonprofits, like the Veterans of Wounded Nature Working Veterans, who embody the spirit of service. That's $100,000 just today. Having served our nation in uniform, they now continue their service by protecting natural resources that belong to all veterans. And if you haven't met Rudy, you haven't met a force of nature. That Marine continues to serve.